Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. We're zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is, why do I feel like the narcissist? Why do I feel that I have failed myself or another person in a relationship? Why am I caving in and feeling distraught and distressed and feeling a sort of a guilt about how things have progressed or things that have culminated in a relationship with someone who all of a sudden is accusatory, generally, from what I've gathered from our viewer, is it sort of a false accusatory stance and position that this person is sort of releasing any sort of responsibility or accountability for being diplomatic or being respectful and being empathetic or understanding in the relationship. And this is a love relationship, but it can take place between you and somebody who is either on their high horse, their low horse, their middle horse, whatever horse it is that's giving them the canter or the momentum to project certain accusations or sort of controlling, what I would call controlling through guilt. Now, a narcissist or someone who is psychopathic or has these behavioral issues, personality issues or deficits, whatever you want to call them, snags, situations, painful breakups, painful conversations where there just sort of is a tension, an unrelenting, unforgiving, undiplomatic, and not seeing the big picture tension. And when you feel like perhaps you have been the narcissist, you've been too demanding, selfish, you feel that, why is this sort of turning around on you and made you to feel like the bad guy out, the bad man out, the bad woman out, whatever it is, there's usually, what you need to understand is a tactic that is used by manipulative or controlling people, which is to control through guilt. You must be on the lookout for this. Controlling others through guilt, meaning making you feel bad, making you be the subject of contention, projection. We'll break these down here in a moment. And controlling you through guilt, meaning feeling bad. It's something that you're doing. It's about you. You're the one who's mistaken. You're the problem. You're the disappointment. You're the one who's not living right. You're the one who's not seeing things correctly. There must be something wrong with you. So it's really what we would control is controlling someone through guilt. So it's a very low level vibration of living to feel a fear base in the relationship, controlling through fear, obligation, and guilt, otherwise known as fog. So it's really important that you really begin to get this. Get a good grasp. Get a good hands-on understanding, meaning what it looks like, what it feels like, what it looks like coming, what it looks like going, what it looks like while you're in the midst of it. In other words, and the problem where people then will take that projection is because of the degree and intensity to which this person is projecting and the degree and intensity to which you feel unacknowledged, unvalidated, or the degree to which you feel comfortable or uncomfortable sort of being assertive and communicating how you're feeling, especially if it kind of catches you by surprise, or if you have not identified this sort of relationship issue previously. So if you hitherto or before, if you were unaware or you fell for this, the controlling through guilt, making you feel bad. You have been ignoring me. You've been not picking up my texts. Why didn't you respond 5 seconds after I sent you that? What is wrong with you? It's the old finger pointing. It's controlling through guilt, making you feel bad, making you feel as if you have done something wrong and oftentimes is with which you can never sort of redeem yourself from. There's nothing you can do, say, or be in their eyes to resolve, to make amends, to meet in the middle, to have a level ground. So people who are controlling through guilt, it's a way for them to get people weaken them, to make them vulnerable, to leave them kicking and screaming or doubting themselves. In other words, look who just got off scot-free with being abusive. Look who just gets away with false accusations, not hearing your side, projecting, or I think we need to understand a little bit more about projection and controlling other people through guilt and what this looks like, either coming into the relationship. In other words, can you see it coming? What do you do when you're in the midst of it? And what do you do when it's going? Okay, these are the people, so if you're feeling like you're the narcissist, oftentimes it's because of false accusations. In other words, making you doubt yourself, gaslighting, causing you to doubt your reality, doubt who you are. These are big experiences. This is no laughing matter. If someone is controlling you through guilt, all of a sudden, nothing in your life matters. Nothing that you are about is important. All of a sudden, it's like, poof, you might as well just be wearing an invisible cloak of guilt and apologizing for your existence while you're around with this person. What do you want me to do? Apologize, for, for your hurts. There's nothing I can do, no matter how empathetic. So if you're a person sort of empathy, or if you're taking it personally, which means you haven't been able to separate yourself from them and get a gap and distance enough to be able to see what the guilt is doing to you and why you don't need to own that guilt that they're projecting onto you. So let's discuss projection. Projection is a defense mechanism. In other words, it is a communication, behavioral, relating style, manipulation tactic that people who are needy, narcissistic, psychopathic, people who want to get their way, people who want to be acknowledged and validated and have this good old one-side relationship that, what their way is the right way. And because of this, because I have children, because of where I live, because of what I've been through, because of my culture, because of where I grew up, because I grew up on this side of the tracks, because I grew up with this nationality, because I grew up with this religion, whatever it is that person is founding their guilt on, that is their issue, okay? So it is their quote-unquote insecurity, or what they're feeling is giving them the right to be the big mouth, the loud mouth on their soapbox, meaning controlling or manipulating others through guilt. That oftentimes, no matter what you do, you can never make right. You can never redeem yourself. You can't get closure. You can't rid the tension. This is how they control, through force, through intimidation, through fear-based interaction. Well, you don't know better. You don't know what we're talking about. You don't get me. You don't understand. You haven't been through what I've been through. You haven't been through what I've been through as a people, as a sex, as a woman, might be their issue. Because of my religion, because of what I've been through, because of my schooling, because, okay? And it's usually not a joyful because, and, welcome you with open arms and let's, figure this out. And even if you have issues or differences of opinion, differences of perspective, usually someone who is manipulating through guilt, they are bringing the problem to the table. It's not the other way around. When someone is controlling you through guilt, it's a one-way control. In other words, it's not up for debate. It's not up for discussion. You can't really be inclusive and have or feel included, feel inclusive, or feel that there's an open air. It's as if they've made a judgment that cannot be removed. It is on the end of someone who is judgmental and harsh and trying to control through the lower energetic vibration of fear and get you off of your game, get you off of your feet, be passive aggressive, say things that's going to get you reactive, not responsive, get you off of your feet, off of your composure, decompose you, break you down is oftentimes what it feels like. And usually there's a degree of really covert and overt disrespect. Really, there is no room for disrespect. There is no room for disrespect. But if you have not identified this, or you were kind of hit blindsided, or with a degree of force, meaning the delivery to which this person uses their projection, meaning if they've been persecuted, if they've been in poverty, if they feel they're not getting their way, or they're feeling small, meek, unheard, they're projecting and stopping the relationship from going anywhere, okay, because they want something. And their insecurity is the causative nature of the projection. So, and it's usually a displaced anger, meaning it is their anger that is being displaced onto you, and all of a sudden you feel like there's something about you that's causing this. And then people tend to take it personally. And like our viewer said, why do I feel like the narcissist? Because it's easier for this person to disown their insecurities, their shortcoming, and make it seem like they can do whatever and get away with it. There's this entitlement nature to people who are controlling. I am, and then fill in the blank. I am the mother. It gives me the right to control through guilt. I am the boss. It gives me the right to control through guilt. I am the woman, quote unquote. It gives me the right to control through guilt. I am the man. It gives me the right. I have children. I don't have children. This is my hair color. This is my skin color. This is the length of my fingernail polish. This is the size of my foot. Whatever it is, there's going to be, and it's almost laughable, the degree to which they will back up their own projection. I mean, they will not give it up like a junkyard dog. They're not giving up that scrap. They're not giving up their fight. This is something usually that they feel justified in. Justified in, meaning it has nothing to do with you. It's already a predetermined, pre-calculated sort of tension, what might feel as aggression, tension, or even in the form of almost the form of a hatred, the projection and the guilt trip, meaning it's fear-based. And fear is really the opposite of love. Like, even though, love is the answer, whatever, it sounds corny, it sounds cheesy, but it's to understand really what projection is, and what it looks like coming in, what it looks like in the midst of it, and then how do you handle it. So guilt is a projection, meaning that there's something within them that is a causative factor which makes them feel that they have to defend themselves and gaslight others, meaning they feel as perhaps a minority, underrepresented, whatever, especially nowadays with all sorts of issues politically. I know we have a lot of international viewers. I'm sure you got international stuff, global stuff, national stuff, or even in your neighborhood, from the microcosm to the, whatever. If you feel underrepresented, nowadays people can just take up a cause, and if they feel to be a minority, an immigrant, it gives me the right to yell, scream, project, shut you out, ostracize you, alienate you, make you feel bad, and you haven't done a little thing. You haven't lifted a finger. You've barely even entered the room, and you can already feel it coming. I mean, you just know what's going to go down. So it's important to understand the cause that creates this effect that you're experiencing while you're in the midst of it. And it's important that you understand that you are separate and distinct, but you might, if you're up against it, meaning you might be exposed, you might be around the tension, the energetic vibration that's coming out of this person. So the guilt, meaning, is causing you to doubt yourself, that there's something inherently wrong with you, and then causing you to feel, why do I feel? So someone who is the subject of a projection, meaning usually there's something about them in their past that they feel is an insecurity, a weakness, a meekness that they have had to harbor in their life. So, for example, someone who feels that they grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, they, lived in poverty, or they were, what's the word that I'm looking for? Mistreated, or what is the word that I'm looking for right now? Give me just a moment. That they were not biased, but they were treated with prejudice. Prejudice is the word that I'm looking for, or bias. In other words, what they feel has been done to them, their people, their sex, the people from their side of the tracks, their side of the mountain, their religion, whatever it is, they feel that because something happened, or where they were born into, or they experienced earlier in their life, maybe something traumatic happened to them, even though they can be very well to do. Why should you feel traumatized? Obviously there's there's proof of your success. They might have all sorts of cars, homes, property, land, titles, awards, medals, whatever it is. Why should you be harboring this? Because they get fueled up, they get juiced, they get riled up, they get impassioned. So somebody, but then brings that to the table. So you need to slice, dice, and clear the air for your own sanctity and your own sanity. So how do you do this? How do you kind of clear a lot of that controlling through guilt, or that ostracizing, or feeling like you have to prove yourself? Well, I would not be, the counter force to their force, and not take it personally. Don't buy into the guilt trip. Don't fall for it. Don't take it personally. It's what this person does. So, for example, if somebody lost a parent early in life, and they feel like the world is against me, and so I had to buck up. I didn't have a parent, I didn't have guidance, so I had to work double and triple hard. Life isn't fair, so I have to fight and claw my way. All these sorts of things that they have gone through, and it might have gone through decades ago, even lifetimes ago. This could be part of their generational issue. Okay, a multi-generational. This could be part of what they wear on their shoulder. You know what I'm saying? It's just that they do not ever let it go. Okay, so as time goes on, people are becoming more evolved, and less judgmental and becoming more of a global community. So I think things are generally moving in more of a better direction and to be less judgmental. But so these people have this and they harbor it, and this is what gives them their identity and gives them sort of a fierceness. Or, you know, maybe a woman who, let's just say, for example, lost her mother and felt like, you know, the world is against me, or, you know, now I have to work doubly hard, and it gives them this anger, this feeling of sadness, and they have to fight the world, and it's me against the world, and so they end up mistreating others to get by, to get what they need, you know, and so they're fueled up by that, and so they will maybe sort of cause you to have an insider or outsider feel. And so it's very uncomfortable and very unpleasant. So you need to identify and understand that, and not to take it personally, because this person is just who they are. Okay, and so if you then come in and, like, let's just say, for example, here's this woman who lost her mother, and then here you go, you still have your mother. So all of a sudden, you're a point of contention. You're going to be an object. You're going to be a scapegoat. You're going to be the receiving end of all that nastiness. Maybe because you don't have that grievance. You haven't lost your parent, or, you know, you don't have that as an insecurity, and you don't have that as a projection onto the world. Okay? So you then become the object, even though you've done nothing wrong. All of a sudden, you're like, what? And your head is spinning, and you're like, all of a sudden, you find yourself not feeling respected. You haven't even done anything. That is how you know you're in the web of a projection. You know, and it kind of makes you doubt your reality. That's gaslighting. And you're like, really? Have I been that bad? You know, really? And then you've got this self-doubt going, and then you feel that there's something wrong with you. Maybe I'm narcissistic. Maybe I'm a terrible person. And then all these things, you know, start to go down. And you're like, let me sort this out. So it's very important to, if you find yourself, you know, at the workplace, in your family, in your neighborhood, or wherever it is, you've been somehow brought into this, it's to learn for yourself, to learn what boundaries feel like, and it gives you the opportunity to know what projection is, and to not own, absorb, take in, or say that you're the causative factor of their projection tendencies, and to own it. So hitherto, people who have not been able to identify this or haven't encountered this before, all of a sudden they're like, their life feels like a downward spiral. They become very unhappy for months on end. They can't figure it out. They feel like this horrible person. They've broken up. They've gotten divorced. They can't relate. They feel ostracized. They feel left out, shut out, and there's nothing they can do. So it's a learned helplessness position. So number one, realize that this is nothing to do with you. It resides, lives, and will continue to live within this person. This is, you know, I'm a minority. I'm from here. I'm from there. I'm, you know, short in a tall man's world. I'm tall in a short man's world. You know, it's just, it can go on and on within that person. So how do you kind of flesh it out? How do you, how do you release that tension? Well, number one, it's giving you the opportunity. And why does this come across? It's so that you can finally, in your life, no matter, maybe you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s, you're going to finally learn to identify what unconditional positive self-regard feels like, and to enforce it and protect yourself and ask for protection within yourself. I asked to be protected in this situation through boundaries, which means a distinct area where you exist and then this other person exists. So there's literally, over here is this, and over here is this, okay? Over here is this, over here is this. And it can be as different, you know, it's a great teacher, and I would hearken that you go. I guess I would put forward that you should look at the relationship as a soft, gentle teacher. A teacher like the moon is a teacher versus the sun. The sun is a strong teacher. The moon is a more gentle teacher. So look at it in a softer, more gentle light. Look at them in a softer, more gentle light and say, okay, let's drop the projection. Let's drop it, because I'm not going to take this personally. And I'm going to understand through the role of metacognition, meaning my ability to think about things and think about and develop thought forms and have internal digestion of all this and get a balance. Okay, get a balance, meaning it ain't all what they're putting out there, okay? But I understand how to deal with this person. So separating yourself, a clean, clear break from who this person is and then who you are, meaning what they're putting out doesn't mean what you have to put out in return, i.e. meet their force as a counterforce. Don't equal their energy. Don't be an energetic match to their energy. If you do, it'll result in nothing but a mess, okay? Meaning it's going to be a fight, a conflict. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be upstanding. It's not going to help you feel better. It's going to cause you to feel worse when you get into fights with someone who is trying to control you through guilt. Not today. I am not going to be controlled through this guilt or this projection. So having that internal dialogue, nope, I am not going to be controlled or negatively affected by this. Just period, end of story. You need to have that discussion with yourself. And bottom line, I'm putting my foot down. I am not going to be controlled or made to feel bad because of something that I can't control. It doesn't have anything to do with me. I am not your guilty party over here. You know, so that is really prejudice. It's prejudice. You know, I feel, which is a strong term. YouTube, maybe they'll take this video down or whatever, but we need to talk about it and, you know, stop kicking the tires on this and just be done with being dragged through the object of contention or prejudice. Mistreating other through controlling them through guilt. It ain't fun, okay? And I personally find it better to remove prejudice and judgment when you're dealing with these people. Even though you want to judge, even though you might want to fight, even, you know, it's important that you learn to yield rather than charge at them. So I know that this is like usually a way that a lot of, you know, going, you know, instead of fighting, yielding. Okay, it's time to yield. Let's let them go. Go ahead and do your projection or, you know, whatever it is that they're causing this separation and you don't feel included. Okay, you're feeling that you're being pushed away, you know, but pulled in at the same time, and you don't know if it's coming or going. So projection, to see it coming, understand that this is a way for somebody to get themselves off the hook or for them to resolve their issues. So they, you know, I'm from here, I'm from there, you know, you have this, I don't have that. There's all sorts of things within their mind, even though you might approach things openly or just trying to keep things accountable in the relationship. It's just the old textbook controlling through guilt. Projection. It's important that you understand this, how you see it in your life, and identify it. And okay, I'm not going to fight fire with fire on this one because it's just going to blow up on my face. The only one it's going to hurt is me because this person is carrying, you know, the big, they're just carrying their hit parade flag, whatever it is that they're carrying, and they're not going to bring it down. I mean, they just aren't. So don't enter into a relationship to change. This is how they are. It can be very unpleasant. It can be very unpleasant, but it doesn't have to be unpleasant for you once you kind of yield a little bit, you understand that you need to, the lesson to be learned, and which is a gift to you, whether you can see it or not, is to enforce and erect your own boundaries. Meaning, I'm not going to fall for that. I know better. And when you say that, you are able to create, erect, and enforce your boundaries. Meaning, I own what's all in here, and I don't take something as a falsehood or an accusation and let that grow within me and become a weed that strangles my happiness. I'm not going to be the object of that contention. So it's very important that you acknowledge and validate that within yourself and release any tension. So when it starts to come, you see it coming. You can see their treatment. You can see what they say. You can see how they don't include you. They're sharing the pictures with everyone over here. They don't show you the pictures. All of a sudden, they're creating division. They're creating a me over here and a you over here, and you're the bad guy. So all you guys are going to get the good stuff. You're going to get the chair next to me. You're going to get to see the pictures. You're going to get to visit. You're going to, get to have the date. You're going to get the giggly gigglies or tickles or whatever it is, that they are giving over here, and then they're not giving it to you. Okay? They're not giving it to you. I don't have to, you're going to have to kind of kiss it up or whatever, or take this false accusation. And really oftentimes the mistreatment can be a very prejudicial treatment, as you're the woman, you're the weaker sex, you're the weaker height, you're the weaker employment, whatever it is, they're going to create that gap. So the gap, rather than, begin to say, okay, maybe that's right. Maybe there does need to be a gap here. And that's your boundary. That is your boundary. Meaning, okay, but I know what's owned in here. I know, okay? And so how do you interact? You do it really with what I would call being couth, being savvy, being smart, being intelligent, and not being disrupted. Showing that you're not flinching, flailing, you're not disturbed, you're not offended. Even though this might be how you truly feel, identify your feelings within yourself. This is offensive. Okay, this person's rude, they're mean, they're accusatory. All that might be. And okay, that's who they are as a person. It says more about them, and it doesn't say that about you. So it's very important that you acknowledge and validate if you have to interact, and being able to acknowledge and validate so this person knows that you get them. So how do you kind of break that tension? If you are able to acknowledge and validate what they have been through, they will feel heard. So that's really what all the projection is about. They want to be heard. And